right, Shalom, Shalom, by Yasha Allah. It's Akan Kabashai Na with WFI Detroit coming at you with a quick live video, right, or a quick lesson. About to go into Revelation, the 12th chapter. Right, we're finna break this thing down through the spirit and power of the Lord, man. Right? Kick it off with this precept. Let me kick it off with this precept in the book of Psalms. Right, chapter 49 and verse 3. It says, "My mouth shall speak of wisdom, and the meditation of my heart shall be understanding. I will incline my ear to a parable. I will open my dark saying upon the heart." Right, so the Bible is full of dark sayings, man. Right, things that's hard to be understood. Right, we finna go into that, man. But through our precepts, we get all the understanding through the Most High Spirit coming upon men. Right, another precept. In fact, I'm gonna get this one. We get the book of the book of Proverbs, chapter 1. In verse 5, it says, "A wise man will hear and will increase learning. A man of understanding shall attain unto wise counsels." And the wise counsels is here in the Bible, man. These are the wise counsels that a man would attain to, right, and increase his learning, right, by going through the scriptures, getting the accounts, getting the precepts. It says to understand a proverb and the interpretation, the words of the wise and their dark sayings. So again, here you have it all throughout the Bible. There's dark sayings. You got to shed light upon those dark sayings so people can understand, man. Right? Get one more. Right? Slucky. Right, the book of Sirach. Right, chapter 39 and verse 2, it says, "He will keep the sayings of the renowned men." Right, the renowned men are the famous men, the men of the Bible, man. Right, you're going to keep the sayings of the renowned men in the scriptures. Right, Solomon, John, right, Matthew, Isaiah, Ezekiel. You're going to keep the sayings of these renowned, famous men. And it says, "And where subtle parables are, he will be there also." So we got to be where these subtle parables are, man. Right, when you read in Genesis, the 3rd chapter, when it's talking about the serpent and Eve biting the fruit and things of that nature, right? We're going to be a part of these parables, man. So we got to go where these parables are, right? It reads, "He will seek out the secrets of grave sentences and be conversant in dark parables." Right, so these dark parables, man, we finna go into it and be where the parables are and read Revelation, the 12th chapter, right? So let's go right into it. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 12 and verse 1. It says, "And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars." Right, so who or what does this woman, right, represent? Who is the woman in this context? All right, we go bring it out. Right, let's get that in the book of Jeremiah. Right, precept slipped my mind. I got another one. It's the book of 2nd Esdras. All right, we go get that in the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 10, right, in verse 44, it says, "The woman whom thou sawest is Zion, and whereas she saith unto thee, even she whom thou seest as a city builded." Right, so the woman in the scriptures is Zion, because Israel is likened unto a comely and delicate woman. I believe that's can't believe that precept slipped my mind. Right, Israel is likened to a comely and delicate woman throughout the scriptures, man. Right, let me get this in the book of Isaiah. Right, all throughout the Bible, you'll see the Most High being called our husband, man, and Israel will be the wife. Right, start at verse 4. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 54, and verse 4. It says, "Fear not, for thou shalt not be ashamed, neither be thou confounded. For thou shalt be put to shame. For thou shalt forget the shame of thy youth, and shalt not remember the reproach of thy widowhood anymore. Right? How do you get into widowhood? That means you're a woman, your husband is dead. Right? Yahweh was dead unto us. Right? And it's saying now you're not going to remember the reproach of that widowhood because he's going to come back. Right? We're going to remarry him. Right? And it says, verse 5, for thy maker is thine husband, the Lord of hosts is his name, and the Redeemer of, it's like in thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel, the God of the whole earth, shall he be called. You see that? So the Most High is saying, look, man, I'm going to remarry you. I'm your husband, because Israel is likened to a beautiful woman in the scriptures. Right? Let me get that in the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 11. It's the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 2. It says, for I am jealous over you with godly jealousy, for I have espoused you to one husband, that I may present you a chaste virgin to Hamashiach. Right? So Paul is saying, I'm going to present you as a chaste virgin to Christ, man. Right? Because again, Israel represents that comely and delicate woman. Right? That's why we're bidding people to the marriage, man, because we're marrying Yahweh Shah, right? See that? That's why it says this in the book of Revelation, right? This is the book of Revelation, chapter 14, verse 4. It says, these are they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins, which they, Slakia. These are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto God and to the Lamb. Right? Because those women represent the doctrine in that context, man. And we not defiled with those doctrines. So we present it as a virgin to Mashiach Yahushua, man. Right? Because, well, I'm saying that's going into the elect. Right, but bear with me. I'm trying to get that. Find that precept. 21. Right, so Israel's that woman. Then we go touch on the woman being clothed with the sun and the moon on her feet. Right? Bear with me. Can't believe that precept slipped my mind. That's just crazy to me. Right, but yet, the Bible is literally so Israel is that comely and delicate woman. That's gonna be that virgin to the Heavenly Father. Can't find a precept. It's odd to me that I literally can't think of that precept. It's a classic precept. It's not in 23. But you get the point. So Israel is that comely and delicate woman. All right. So when it says that woman is clothed with the sun and moon under her feet, we got to understand what the sun and moon represents. All right, let's go back to Genesis, chapter 1 and verse 14. This is the sun and moon being created. Right? It says, and God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. Right? So the sun and the moon, right? All the different lights. That's the precept I wanted. Let me drop that real quick. Can't believe I forgot that precept. It's a classic. Jeremiah 6 and 2, just to hit the nail on the head real quick, is I have likened the daughter of Zion to a comely and delicate woman. Right? So all throughout the scriptures, the water for that came to water. So yeah, all throughout the scriptures, Zion is that lovely and delicate woman. All right, so back to the sun and moon. So they're created for, signs of feast to the world. Right? Genesis 1 and 15, it says, and let them be for lights in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And he made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. Right, so the sun and the moon, they were created to pretty much not govern, but to give light unto the earth. The sun gives light during the day. The moon gives light during the night. Now, what does that light actually represent in parabolic form, in spiritual form? Right, it represents the knowledge of the Lord, man. Right, because the earth is covered in darkness. Right, how else do you get that light? Right? I mean, how else do you change darkness? Right, you change darkness by literally putting light upon it, man. Right, let's get this precept. Just to prove that's the book of Proverbs chapter 6, verse 23. It says, for the commandment is a lamp, and the law is light, and reproofs of instruction are the way of life. So the law is that light, man. Right, Yahweh shines that light, because when Yahweh shines the word, right? This word is the light, man. Right? Let's get that. The book of John, right, chapter 3, verse 19. It says, and this is the condemnation, that light is come into the world, and men love darkness rather than light, because their deeds were evil. Right, so that darkness represents evil, and that light will represent, the knowledge of the Lord, man. That light that shines upon this dark place, right? That's what the light represents. And what greater light is there but the light that governs the earth? Not governs the earth, but that shines upon the earth, that rules in the day, that rules in the night. So Israel is covered with that light. Right, Israel has the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. We were given the commandments, right? We were given the laws. And we were given the wisdom by the Lord. We're the only nation that was given that wisdom. Right, it's the book of Leviticus, chapter 26, and verse 46. It says, these are the statutes and judgments and laws which Yahweh made between him and the children of Israel in Mount Sinai by the hand of Moses. Right, so we were given the light, man. Right, so we can govern everybody else on the earth. Right, that's literally the purpose of the Israelites. Let me get that in the book of Exodus. Right, this book of Exodus, chapter 19. All right, in verse 4. And it reads, ye have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. Now, therefore, if ye will obey my voice and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. And ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and an holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. Right, so a kingdom of priests, and it's like the priests, they do the work of the Most High. So we're the kingdom of priests, man. Right, we're supposed to be a kingdom of priests. The nations are supposed to get that light from the Israelites. But since we went the hell off, now the light that the so-called white man gives the light, man. But Israel's clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, man. Right, the greatest lights that rule by day and night. Right, that's what we have, the light, man. Right, you get that, the book of Baruch. Right, it's the book of Baruch, chapter 4, and verse 1. And it reads, this is the book of the commandments of God and the law that endure forever. All that keep it shall come to life, but such as leave it shall die. Turn thee, O Jacob, and take hold of it. Walk in the presence of the light thereof, that thou mayest be illuminated. Right, so you walk in the presence of the law, now you're illuminated. Now your light is shining forth on the earth, man. Right? You get that in the book of Deuteronomy. Right, this is Deuteronomy chapter 4. All right, in verse 5, it says, behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as Yahweh my God commanded me, that ye shall do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations. Right, so your light is shining, man. That's why it says, let your light so shine before men. Right, that light is shining upon all the nations, man. Right, when you're keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. And that's Israel's purpose. Right, and the sun shines upon all nations. The moon shines upon all nations. when the day does a cycle from light to day, man. And Israel is shining upon all nations, right? In the spiritual form. Right? It's not an actual woman coming out of heaven, man. Right? This isn't what you're going to see in the last days. Right? This is all parabolic, man. Right? And it says, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this nation is a wise and understanding people. Right? That's letting your light shine before men right there. They see you keeping the commandments. They say, look at this wise and understanding people, man. They kind of confound it, huh? Right? They get this precept. Because again, the other nations don't have this, man. Right? Only Israel was given this light. Right? No other nation was given the light, man. Right? It's the book of Tobit. Right? Chapter 4 and verse 19. It says, bless the Lord thy God always, and desire of him that thy ways may be directed, and that all thy paths and counsels may prosper. For every nation hath not counsel, but the Lord himself giveth all good things, and he humbleth whom he will, as he will. Now therefore, my son, remember my commandments, neither let them be put out of thy mind. You see that? So all nations don't have counsel, man. All nations don't have the Lord. They don't have this light, man. All these other nations, they're in gross darkness. Right? But Israel has the light. So they're clothed with the light. They're clothed with the moon and the sun, man. Right? So let's go back to that. Read this again. Revelation 12 and 1. It says, and there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. Right? So now we know this is Israel again, because Israel is a comely and delicate woman. Right? Israel has the sun and the moon, the wisdom and knowledge and understanding of the earth. Right? Clothed and under her foot. They're in possession of that. And the 12 stars represent the Israelites. Right? The 12 sons of Israel. Right? Let's prove it. All right? Let's prove it, man. Precept must be upon precept. Right? You can't be in Revelation if you don't know these accounts. Right? If you don't know the history, man. Right? Slocky, bear with me. It's the book of, see where I want to start. It's the book of Genesis. Right? Chapter 37. And see where I want to start. I'm going to just get straight to it. Verse 9. Right, this is going into Joseph. He had a dream, man, about his brothers. Right, and it says, and he dreamed yet another dream, and told it his brethren, and said, behold, I have dreamed a dream more, and behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obedience to me. Right, this is going into his fathers pretty much, his brothers bowing down to him. They're the 11 stars, right? Because they represent stars in the Bible, the sons of Jacob, right? And it says, and he told it to his father and to his brethren, and his father rebuked him and said unto him, what is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come bow down ourselves to thee, to the earth? And his brothers envied him, but his father observed the same. Right, and this indeed happened, huh? They actually came and bowed down to him when they were asking for, different things that they could eat in the drought, man. While Joseph was over Egypt. Right, let me see if I can find that account real quick. Right. See where I want to start. It's the book of Genesis chapter 43. Right, matter of fact, no, that's not it. Bear with me. See where I want to start. Okay, I'm gonna start at verse 5. Right, this is Genesis 42 and verse 5. This is actually the dream being fulfilled. Those 11 stars bowing down to him. Because again, the Israelites' art represents the 12 stars. That's why the woman has 12 stars on her crown, because she represents Israel, right? The nation, right? And it says, and the sons of Israel came to buy corn among those that came, for the famine was in the land of Canaan. And Joseph was the governor over the land, and it was that sold to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brother came and bowed themselves before him with their faces toward the earth. And Joseph saw his brethren, and he knew them, but made himself strange unto them. He spake roughly unto them. And he said unto them, whence come ye? And they said, from the land of Canaan to buy food. So Joseph, he saw and recognized his brethren, but he pretty much act like he didn't know who they was, man. Right? He act like he didn't know who they was and kind of, look down on them and talk down on them, man. Right? They sold them, man, to the Egyptians, man. So he was kind of pissed off, looking like these niggas, man. You know what I'm saying? And they didn't recognize Joseph because he was fully adapting to the Egyptian customs. Had a shaved head, shaved his beard, right? Had makeup on, no telling, man. Right? But he was fully into that Egyptian culture, man. And it says, and Joseph knew his brethren, but they knew him not. And Joseph remembered the dreams which he dreamed of, and said unto them, ye are spies to see the nakedness of the land ye are to come. Right? So he remembered that dream once they bowed down to him. That was the 11 stars bowing down to him. So the Israelites are referred to as the stars, man. And again, stars help the moon give a light by night. Right? We're here to get that light in a dark place, man. Right? Through the Spirit of the Lord. Right? So the woman that John is speaking on, right, is the nation of Israel. Right, so I'm going to read that again, Revelations 12:1. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. Right, that's Israel. And it says, and she being with child cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered. Right, now this child represents Hamashiach Yahweh, man. That's who the child represents. Right, we go get further into that. It says, and there appeared another wonder in heaven. Behold, a great red dragon, right? A big, great serpent, a great red serpent, man. Who is this red serpent? Is none other than the so-called white man, right? We'll bring this up, man. It's the book of Job. Let's get it. Go get it, man. Right, this is the book of Job, chapter 30, and verse 29. It says, I am a brother to dragons and a companion to owls. Right, he's a brother to serpents, man. Who is that serpent? Esau, the so-called white man, the devil. Right, he's that great serpent called the devil and Satan, man. Right, this is talking about the so-called white man. That's why he's red, because Esau came out red all over, man. Genesis 25:25. Right, lacking that pigmentation. So that great red dragon represents Esau, Idumea, Edom, man. Right. Reading on, it says, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his head. Right, so the great red dragon, because beast in the scriptures actually represents, nations of men. Right, you read that in the book of Daniel, the 7th and 8th chapter, and multiple other precepts is going through how beasts represent men on the earth, man. Right, let me get a precept on that. Right, because you may think it's an actual red dragon, but that's not the case, man. The Bible speaks in similitudes. It's the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 8, verse 29. It says, let it not be that thou destroy them which have lived like beasts, but to look upon them that have clearly taught thy law. Right, so he said, don't look upon them that live like beasts, man, because men are considered beasts in the Bible, right? Another precept on that. The book of Ecclesiastes. Right, I'm going to get chapter 3, verse 18. Salakia. Ecclesiastes 3 and 18, it says, I said in mine heart concerning the estates of the Son of Men, that God might manifest them, and that they see that they themselves are beasts, man. Right, so the sons of men are considered beasts in the Bible. Right? You understand that? That's what's going on. So this great red dragon with 7 heads and 7 crowns, it represents the rulerships of the so-called white man. The major rulerships. You can look up European history, any book, Wikipedia, Google, any article, any scholar, they'll tell you they had 7 major kingdoms. You can look it up yourself. You got Greece, Rome, Spain, France, Germany, Great Britain, and Russia. Those are the 7 top Edomite kingdoms, man. Right, that's reigned on the earth different periods of time. Okay? And of course you got the 10 horns, and that's going into the 10 different nations that they broke up into. All right, like Belgium, Denmark, Luxembourg, you got Germany, Spain, France. What's another one? Ireland, things of that nature. Greece, right? I think I said Luxembourg, the Netherlands, right? Denmark. Okay. So that's what this red dragon represents, right? With the 7 heads. That's the structure of the so-called white man. That's the European structure, right? All this so-called great rulerships. That's why I had 7 crowns, because a crown represents rulership, man. Right? You don't have a crown if it's not a king, if it's not a rulership attached to it, right? Verse 4, and it says, and his tail drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven. Now we just read who the stars were, right? We just read who the stars were, and the stars are the Israelites. So a 3rd part of the stars would be 3 of the stars, right? What 3 stars was knocked down? It's talking about the Jews, right? Because they were knocked down by the Roman Empire, right? The Jews is Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, right? Let's prove it. Let's prove the Jews are Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, right? It's the book of 1 Kings, right? Chapter 12 and verse 16. It says, so when all Israel saw that the king hearkened not unto them, the people answered the king, saying, what portion have we in David? Neither have we inheritance in the son of Jesse. To your tents, O Israel. Now, now see that to thine own house. And David so departed into their tents. And as for the children of Israel, which dwelt in the cities of Judah, Rehoboam reigned over them. Right? So, at this point, this is going into the split of Israel. Right? This is going to the split of the Israelites, man. All right? So, you had the 10 tribes they went along with Jeroboam. And then Rehoboam, he actually reigned over Judah. But Benjamin actually joined Judah, right? I'm going to bring this out. Skip to verse 21. It says, and when Rehoboam was come to Jerusalem, he assembled all the house of Judah with the tribe of Benjamin. Right, so now you have 2 tribes. But once you keep going through the history, you'll understand Levi actually joined unto them because Jeroboam was being wicked, man. He actually didn't let the priests do their priestly duty, right? And you can read about that. Right, I'm going to skip to verse 30. It says, and this thing became a sin, for the people went to worship before the one, even unto Dan. And he made a house of high places and made priests of the lowest of the people, which were not the sons of Levi. Right, this is talking about Jeroboam. It says, and Jeroboam ordained a feast in the 8th month on the 15th day of the month, like unto the feast that is in Judah, and he offered upon the altar. So did he in Bethel sacrifice unto the calves that he had made. And he placed in Bethel the priests of the high places which he had made. So he said, to hell with the Levites that's in the land, right? I'm finna deal with my own wicked priests, and we go do our own thing, man. All right. So I'm gonna get it, go more into the history, right? So that's Judah and Benjamin. They were all together. All right. And what you understand is the southern kingdom at that point, they kept doing so much wickedness, they ended up getting kicked out of the land of Israel. Right? That's in 2 Kings, the 17th chapter. But I'm going to read about the Levites actually joining unto the, I dropped the gun, but the Levites joining into it, Judah and Benjamin. All right, so Salakia. This is the book of 2 Chronicles, chapter 11. And I'm going to start at 11. It says, and he fortified the strongholds and put captains in them and stored of victual and of oil and wine. And in every several city he put shields and spears and made them exceedingly strong, having Judah and Benjamin on his side. Right. So this is going into a civil war. Right. Northern versus southern kingdom. Right. And it says, and the priests and the Levites that were in all Israel restored to him out of all their coasts. For the Levites left their suburbs and their possession and came to Judah and Jerusalem, for Jeroboam and his sons had cast them off from executing the priest's office unto Yahweh. And he ordained him priest for the high places and for the devils and for the calves which he had made. You see that? So the Levites, they went and joined unto their brethren, the Judah and Benjamin. Right? So now you got Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Those are the Jews. They were that were left in the land after the Babylonian captivity, right? Because literally you had to split in the kingdom, and then from there, right, the northern kingdom got kicked out of the land, right? That's 722 BC under the Assyrians, right? And then 589 BC, that's when the Babylonians conquered the Israelites. In 539 BC, Cyrus let out a decree to put the Israelites back in their land. And all the Israelites weren't there, man. Right? All the Israelites weren't there at the time. Right, this is the book of Ezra, right? Chapter 1 and verse 1. It says, now in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of Yahweh by the mouth of Jeremiah might be filled, the Lord stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom and put it also in writing, saying, thus saith Cyrus, king of Persia, the God of heaven and the Lord God of heaven have given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he have charged me to build him an house at Jerusalem, which is in Judah. Who is there among you of all his people? His God be with him, and let him go up to Jerusalem, which is in Judah, and build the house of the Lord God of Israel. He is the God which is in Jerusalem. And whosoever remaineth in any place where he sojourneth, let the men of his place help him with silver and with gold and with goods and with beasts, besides free will offering for the house of the God that is in Jerusalem. So Cyrus sent out that decree, right, that all the Israelites that remained in the land went back to Jerusalem and built back up the temple. Right, this is 539 BC. And it says, then arose the chief of the fathers of Judah and Benjamin and the priests and the Levites with all them whose spirit God had raised to go up to build the house of the Lord, which is in Jerusalem. Right, so it didn't mention the other nations because the other nations had already been cast off. Right, they had already been cast off at this time. And the Lord wasn't dealing with the northern kingdom. He removed them out of his sight. So these nations were left, just those three tribes, those three stars that were knocked down by the Roman Empire, because those are the Jews that were enslaved to the Romans. Right, and we go get a quick precept to show you that these Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, they're considered the Jews. Right, so Cyrus made that decree to Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Now, I'm going to jump to Ezra. Right, bear with me. Chapter 6. right? Chapter 6, right in verse 7, it says, let the work of this house of God alone, let the governor of the Jews and the elders of the Jews build this house of God in his place. Right, so now it's calling Judah, Benjamin, and Levi Jews, which is just short for Judah, right? House of Judah. So it's pretty much that simple. So those 3 stars that were knocked down, that's talking about Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. All right. Right. Got to kind of, get rid of scoffers in this thing. All right. Not dealing with that. All right. Let's go back to it. This book of Revelation, right? Chapter 12. Right in verse 4. It says, and his tail drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven. Right? Destroyed the Jews. Right? The Romans destroyed the Jews, man. And did cast them to the earth, and the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it be born. Right, so this head, right, one of the heads of the 7 dragon, the Roman Empire, was ready to devour the child as soon as it be born. Now, this child is Yahushua. All right, this child is Yahushua. We go bring it out, man, because Yahushua was going to be devoured by the Roman Empire as soon as he was born. Right, let's get the account. Right, let's get the account in the book of Matthew, the 2nd chapter. Salakia, bear with me. It's the book of Matthew, right, chapter 2. We'll start at 1. Right, I want to start at 1. I'm gonna start at 1. Right, get the full. All right, it says, now when Yahushua was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king. Now this is talking about Herod the so-called great, right? It says, behold, there came wise men from the east of Jerusalem, saying, where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east and are come to worship him. When Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And when he had gathered all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he demanded of them where Christ should be born. So he said, so where was he at, man? Because he was seeking to devour him. Right? Let's jump down to prove that. Jump down. Right? Let's jump down to verse. I'm going to get 13. I'm going to start at 13. All right? It says, and when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, arise, take the young child and his mother, and flee into Egypt. Be thou there until I bring thee word, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. So this devil, this pale, pink, disgusting bastard, Herod the Great, so-called great, wanted to kill our Lord and Savior as a child, man. He was seeking to devour him as a child, man. Right? Because he feared him, because he understood the prophecies, and he knew that Yahushua was coming on the scene, man, to basically take down the Roman Empire. Well, that's what he perceived and thought. Right? He wasn't doing that yet. He's doing that on the second coming. But nonetheless, the Roman Empire, Herod the king, he was seeking to kill, seeking to devour Yahushua. Right? As soon as he be born, as soon as the woman was born, right? As soon as the woman was ready to bear that child, right? The head of the dragon was seeking to devour him, eat him alive, man. Right? And let's see what this devil did, man. Right? It says, when he arose, he took the young child and his mother by night, and he departed into Egypt. Right? So Yahushua ran into Egypt. So how is Christ a white man, man? He ran into Egypt as a child to hide from the so-called white man. right? You'll be able to spot him, man. If he was a white man with blonde hair and blue eyes in Egypt, man. Right, so he was a dark-skinned man, right? Proof right there. That's a cut. It says, and was there until the death of Herod, because Herod, he didn't last too long after Christ's birth, right? The Herod that you read about, who was judging him later on, is actually the son of Herod, right? It says that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken of the Lord by the prophet, saying, out of Egypt have I called my son. Then Herod, when he saw that he was mocked of the wise men, was exceedingly wroth, and sent forth and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem, and all the coast thereof, from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had diligently inquired of the wise men. Right, so this man is a devil, man. He killed all the children that was 2 years old and under, man. Like a damn devil, like a demon. And they wonder why he called the so-called white man the devil, man. Right? So Herod was seeking to devour Yahushua. Right? But Yahushua, he had fled until, the angel came into his father, Joseph, told him to flee with the child into Egypt, the wilderness. Right? And it says that here, verse 6, Revelation 12:6. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she had a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. Right? And this is, it's twofold, right? It's going into Yahushua fleeing to Egypt, but it's actually also going into, us coming into America, right? The wilderness, us coming into America, right? For a dispensation of time before the Most High comes back, man. Right? That 2,260 days. All right. Or that 1,260 days. Right? 1260, man. Right? 3.5 years. Right? All these things are all symbolic, the same thing in the Bible. All right. That's why it says in Revelation, right? Let me read this. Revelation 11:11. It says, and after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from God entered into them, and they stood up on their feet, and there sucking great fear fell upon them that saw them. So it's after that dispensation of time, the spirit of life is going to come upon the earth and wake us back up. Right? And that's why it says we're being, fed here, man. Right? We're actually being fed here, being sustained to the best of to basically, we're here for a punishment, but we're not sent here to be destroyed, for lack of better term. Let me bring that out. Right? So, of course, we under the, we in the hand of lawless devils, and, the so-called white man's a damn bastard, but, nonetheless, we the Lord ain't gonna completely destroy us, right? For his name's sake, right? It's the book of Baruch, right? Back in Baruch, chapter 4, verse 6, it says, ye were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because ye moved God to wrath, ye were delivered unto the enemies. You see that? So we were delivered to the enemies not to be destroyed, but simply because the Lord was pissed the hell off, right? So Revelation 12:7, it says, and there was war in heaven. Right now, this isn't going into actual damn the third heaven, man. Right? Which Lucifer fighting Satan, fighting the Most High, and all this BS that you hear in the Christian church. It's literally war in the heavens, man, because they're going to fight against Yahushua, man. Right? They're going to actually fight against the chariots, right? Because the chariots are going to enter into the atmosphere, man. And you think they go just keep fighting each other in World War III when it's literally a so-called alien invasion? No, they're going to stop what they're doing, and they're going to fight against this new threat that just entered into the earth, right? So they're going to actually have a war in the heavens, man, right? Because the heaven just represents the firmament, man, right? I mean, you got three heavens. You got the spiritual world, then you got, which is so-called space, and then you got, like I said, the sky, man, right? Get a precept on that. Right, real quick. It's the book of Genesis 1:8. It says, and God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the first day. Right, so the firmament is known as heaven. Right, that's the glass ceiling. Right, that's dividing the waters from the waters. That's dividing the waters from the waters that's above the firmament, right, which is so-called space. Right, that would be, the sky, man. So it's war in heaven. Right, they're fighting again because they're gonna try to fight against Yahweh Shah. Right, let me get that real quick. Let me get it. Let me go to Revelation real quick. Right, the book of Revelation, chapter 17, verse 14, it says, these shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is Lord of lords and Kings of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. You see that? So these nations are going to try to fight and war against Yahweh Shah. But it's not going to work, man. Right? It's not going to work. You read that in 2nd Esdras, the 13th chapter, 1 on down. They're going to try to subdue the man that came out of the sea, right? Came out of the sky, and it's going to end bad for him, man. Right? Get this precept. Right? See where I want to get. Right, see where I want. It's beautiful accounts. Right, I advise you to read Ezekiel 38 and 39. Right, it's going into the destruction of the enemies as they're attacking Israel over there when we're back in the wilderness. Right. Just wanted to get a quick precept, see if I can find it. Bear with me. See that? I mean, it's just so much. This whole chapter really fire for real, man. Right, the whole chapter really is fire. That's a whole breakdown in itself. Right, but I advise you to read that whole account. Yeah, so the Lord go basically destroy those heathen. They go try to attack them, right? And that's what they mean by war in heaven. Let me get this precept though. Right. Yeah, you just gotta read that whole book on your own, man. Right. You might have to do a breakdown on that one. Right, this is the Book of Zephaniah. Like, this is what I want. No, I don't want Zephaniah, Salakia. I think I want Habakkuk. It's the book of... Bear with me. Salakia. Bear with me. Salakia, Israel. Right, it's the book of... This is what I want. The book of Habakkuk, right? Chapter 3 and... Bear with me. Verse 16, it says, when I heard, my belly trembled and his lips quivered at the voice. Rottenness entered into my bones, and I trembled in myself that I might rest in the day of trouble. When he cometh up unto the people, he will invade them with his troops. So he's going to invade the earth, man. He's literally going to invade the entire earth with his troops. You read that in Revelation 1 and 7. Right? It's going to be so many chariots. So they're going to fight against them because they're going to be in the sky. Right? The chariots are flying, so-called flying vehicles, man. Right? They're in the air flying. Right? So That's what it means it's going to be a war in heaven, man. Right? That's what it's talking about. Right? Through the Spirit, man. I'm going to have to probably do a different breakdown on that. Let me bring this out. Yeah, this is what I wanted. Went back to it. So I had to pull this precept. It's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 38, and verse 17. It says, thus, you know what? Start at 14. It says, and thou shalt come up against my people of Israel. Right? So they're gonna come against the Israelites, man. Right? These other nations. Right? In Israel. In the wilderness. Right? It says, as a cloud to cover the land, it shall be in the latter days, and I will bring thee against my land, that the heathen may know me, when I shall be sanctified in thee, O God, before their eyes. Thus saith Yahweh thy God, art thou he of whom I have spoken in old time by my servants the prophets of Israel, which prophesied in those days many years, that I will bring thee against them. Right, so he's telling them right now, didn't I tell you that you was going to do this? But you can't help it, man. Right, because the Lord, his will is going to be done, man. Right, regardless, man. The Lord is directing their steps. Like he said, he's going to put hooks in their jaws, man. Right, he's going to put hooks into their jaws. It actually tells you that earlier in the chapter. Right, it says, and it shall come to pass at the same time when Gog shall come against the land of Israel, saith the Lord God, that my fury shall come up in my face. For in my jealousy and in the fire of my wrath have I spoken. Surely in that day there shall be a great shaking in the land of Israel. So it's going to be a great shaking in the land of Israel. Because all hell go break loose, man. Like he's literally going to destroy all these nations. Right, so when it says war in the heaven, it's not going to be like you see in the movies, man. Right, where the damn, it's the so-called UFO shooting and they kind of missing and they shoot a rocket and blow one UFO up. And no, man, it's not going to be a fair fight. Right, it's going to become a flawless victory, man. Right, he's going to be unscathed, untouched. He's going to do it easily, man, effortlessly take out these nations. The so-called white man has no kind of technology even near what the Lord is dealing with. He gave the so-called white man the technology he has now. Right? He gave him the nuclear bomb. That's Isaiah 54 and 16. Right? It says, verse 20, right? So that the fishes of the sea and the fowls of the heaven, right? Check that out. The fowls of the heaven, proving again, heaven is just the sky, right? Fowl is a bird. It says, and the beasts of the field, and all creeping things that creep upon the earth, and all the men that are upon the face of the earth shall shake at my presence, and the mountains shall be thrown down, and the steep places shall fall, and every wall shall fall to the ground. Right? You see, that's what the Lord said. I'm going to destroy him. I'm going to put him to death. Right? Pretty much, man. And that's what's going to happen. It's going to be a great shaking in that land when they try to come up against the Lord. Right? So they're going to fight against the Most High. Right? As it is written, man. In fact, let me just go ahead and pull the account. Right? 2nd Esdras, right? Chapter 13. Right? And in verse 6, it says, and I beheld, and lo, he had graven himself a great mountain and flew up upon it. Right? Matter of fact, I'm started at 5. It says, and after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of the heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea. Right? Because Yahweh Shah is going to come out of the heavens, man. And they're going to want to subdue him. They're going to want to destroy him. Like, wait a minute. It's literally a so-called alien invasion. He's going to invade them with his troops. He's going to cover the sky with millions of chariots, man. You got to actually understand this is real life, man. If it's a so-called alien invasion, they're at war fighting. They're going to stop everything they're doing and they're going to attack that new threat, like I'm saying, man. You see that in these so-called movies, man. Right? And that's just logical for these simple nations, man. They don't understand, on a carnal level. That's logical to do carnally, man. Right? If you don't know what's going on, you have no idea about the chariots of the Most High. You go say, what the hell? Like, whoa, aliens? Like, this is real? And you go kind of, fight against them, even though you're going to be scared to death. Right? And it says, verse 6, but I beheld, and lo, he hath graven himself a great mountain and flew upon it. But I would have seen the region or place wherewith the hill was graven, and I could not, because he was flying upon a gigantic chariot. He was flying on a so-called UFO, man. Right? That's what he was flying on. That's why it says he couldn't find where the great mountain was cut out of. Right? He was in the fathership. Right? Verse 8, and it says, and after this I behold, and lo, all they that were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight. Right? So they were afraid to death, but they still went to fight against Yahushua. Right? It says, and lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war. But only I saw that he sent out of his mouth, as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests, and they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon a multitude which was prepared to fight, and burnt them up, every one, so that a sudden of an innumerable multitude, nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and the smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid, man. Right, so he completely annihilated them with the missiles that he had, man, with the lasers that were shooting out of his chariot. Right, it was all mixed together, just kind of melted them away, man. Right, let me get that. Right, the book of Psalm chapter 58. Right, the Lord is powerful, man. This is the book of Psalm chapter 58. In verse 6, it says, break their teeth, O God, in their mouth. Break out the great teeth of the young lions, O Yahweh. Right, because the teeth represents their military might. Right, and it says, let them melt away as the water which runneth continually. When he bendeth his bow to shoot his arrows, let them be cut in pieces. Right, you see that? So he said, let them be cut to pieces. When he shoots those arrows, when he shoots those lasers, let me melt them to pieces. When he has these nations drop nukes on each other and their body literally disintegrates, let them melt, man. Let them melt where they stand. He used the word melt, man. Telling somebody, I'm going to melt you. Right? That's the power of the Lord, man. And only the Lord said, I can melt you. Right? Verse 8 says, as a snail which melteth. Right? It's like you burning a snail. The thing melts, man. Right? It says, let everyone that of them pass away, like the untimely birth of a woman, that they may not see the sun, man. Right? So that's powerful right there. Right? So the Lord said we got to melt our enemies, man. Right? He's going to melt our enemies in the presence of us, man. Right? So it's going to be a fight in the heavens, and it's not going to end well for the so-called white man. Right? Get that again. Revelation 12:7 says, and there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels. Right? So there's going to be a war in the heavens, right? Right? The firmament, right? You can see, you're going to be able to see an actual battle going on against the chariots and, the military might of the so-called white man. Right? It says, and prevailed not. Right? So they're not going to prevail, man. The dragon, the so-called white man and his angels, right, his fleet of armies, they're not going to prevail against the power of the Lord. Right? It says, neither was there place found anymore in heaven. So they're not going to have any more place found. They're going to get blown completely out of the sky. Right? And you know this isn't the so-called devil, because the devil, or this isn't the devil as in, the spiritual demon Satan. Right? Like the Christian church says, because Satan doesn't rebel against the Lord, man. Right? He actually works for the Most High. Right? Let's get it. Right? The classic in Job. I'm going to just get straight to it. Job 2:1. It says, again, there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord. And Satan came also among them and presented himself before the Lord. So why is Satan presenting himself before the Lord, man? Right? I thought Satan, he kind of rebelled, man. So why is he in the third heaven presenting himself with the angels? Why is he there if he's so rebellious? He's supposed to be ruling the underworld, sticking people with pitchforks, molesting and fondling men. Ain't that what he's supposed to be doing? Right? What is he doing? Present himself before the Lord. Right? It says, and Yahweh said unto Satan, from whence comest thou? And Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro in the earth and from walking down in it. Right? And this is the purpose of Satan. Right? The Lord set Satan up to keep people away from the tree of life. So he's just doing the job that the Most High set up for him. He literally works for the Most High. All right. So this isn't, the spiritual demon Satan. This is talking about the so-called white man. That's who the dragon is. That seven-headed dragon. Right? What other dragons seek to devour a child that came from Israel besides, Herod? So it's plain upon tables, man. All right, Revelation 12:9 says, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. And nobody else deceived the entire earth like the so-called white man with Caesar Borgia, man. They deceived the earth so much that our women think that being half naked, being thoughts, whores, and sluts, right, makes them free, makes them independent. That's empowering. I'm empowered by showing my ass, man. Right? He got our brothers thinking it's cool to sag their pants, walk like a damn penguin, man. Right? That's cool in the mind of Jake. Right? To hate your brother. If you don't hate your brother, if you don't kill that nigga for stepping at your shoes, for looking at you funny, right? If you don't fight your brother for these, simple ass things, hey, you soft, man. That's the image that the so-called white man placed upon our people, man. Right? Through his deception, through his lies, man. Through his treachery. Them devils, man. Right? We ain't dealing with Esau, man. Right? So they're the old devil. Right? They're that old serpent, man, from the damn garden. Tricking Eve, man. Doing that today in today's world. Right? Through the woman, we all die, man. So they attack our women. Right? They give them these good jobs. Right? They kind of, in Eve ear, like, good job. Tap them on the ass, man. Right? Got them feeling like they're above their men. Right? And that's what the so-called white man does. He deceived the entire earth, man. And he got every nation feeling like this is the way to live. Coming to Babylon the Great. You can be a homosexual. You can be a damn, transformer, man. Right? You can do all these wicked, heinous, and you can molest children, man. Right? Your children can listen to men that's dressed like women read to them, man. Or you can get the gay BCs for your kid. Ain't nothing wrong with that. You can do whatever you want. Right? That's how they deceive the entire planet, man. Hey, the Lord not dealing with doing whatever you want, man. The Lord is dealing with order. He's dealing with the law, statutes, and commandments. He's dealing with the Israelites enslaving these wicked nations for these heinous acts, man. Right? So they're that serpent, man, from the garden. Right? They're literally the seed of that, man. Right? You can get that. Genesis. Yeah, that's the 3rd chapter. Right? Hey, bear with me. The book of Genesis, right? Chapter 3. And, right? Chapter 3 and verse 14. And the Lord God said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle and above every beast of the field. Right, which is representing all the nations. It says, and thus shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. Because they're going to, at the end of the day, they're going to bow down, put their face in the damn dirt, man. Right, the so-called white man, the serpent. Right, and it says, and I will put enmity between thy seed and the woman. Right, so he's going to put enmity between Eve's seed line and his seed line. That's what it's going to say. And between thy seed and her seed. Right, and it, meaning Eve's seed, shall bruise the head, and thou, the serpent seed, shall bruise, and it shall bruise thy head. Right, the snake seed or the serpent seed is going to bruise the head of Eve's seed, and thou shalt bruise his heel. right? And the seed of Eve bruised the heel. It's going to conquer, take down the so-called white man. That's how Yaquab, Jacob, got his name. The supplanter, because he was supplanting Esau. He was bringing them back to the womb. Representation of how we go take down the nation of Edom, the so-called white man's rulership. Right, but nonetheless, they're that serpent, because what child had that? What children had enmity from the womb? Jacob and Esau. And we all know the so-called white man is Esau. If you didn't know that, shame on you, man. Right, you need to cut this off and go get the milk, man, because we kind of diving into some meat, man. All right. So this is the book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 9. It says, and that great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceived the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. So the so-called white man, he's going to go to a lower state. He'll get destroyed. He going to be taken out of rulership, man. Right? Thus saith the Lord, man. It's going to be a glorious day. Right? It's the book of Isaiah, right? Chapter 14. All right. In verse 12, it says, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? Right? Because again, right, the morning star is the brightest star. Right? The so-called white man, they got the wisdom of the earth right now, man. That on the left-hand side. Right? They are the sun and the moon that we're supposed to be. Right? They're that morning star. But Lucifer, right, the light bearer, he's going to be cast down, man. Let me get a precept on that. Right? The book of Job, chapter 18 and verse 5. And it reads, yeah, the light of the wicked shall be put out, and the spark of his fire shall not shine. So the light of the wicked, he has a light, man, nonetheless, right? And the light of that wicked is going to be put out, right? The light of Lucifer, right? It's like Isaiah 14 and 12. It says, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? It's how you know it isn't talking about Satan, because who weakens the nations? What other nation is basically a damn bully of the earth, man? Right? It's America, right? This is talking about the king of Babylon right here. This is a parable that's going to be taken up once they're brought low, once they're put into slavery and subjection, man. Right? So they're going to fall from heaven, right? It says, for thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit upon the mountain of the congregation on the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the cloud. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, into the sides of the pit, man. Right? So the so-called white man, he exalts himself. He thinks he's, he think his SHT don't stink. But guess what, man? The Lord go show otherwise, man. The Lord go show his true colors and destroy the so-called white man, right? In a glorious fashion, right? And they're going to be seen no more. They're going to be cast down and not be found in heaven anymore. The roles are going to reverse, right? The rulership is going to get snatched from them, man. We're going to take the kingdom and hold the kingdom forever, amen, right? Had a precept in mind. Yeah, kind of. Right? Get another precept, man. Right? This is what this is going into, man. The destruction of Esau. All right? It's the book of... Right? It's the book of Job, chapter 20, verse 5. It says that the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment. Though his excellency mount unto the heavens, and his head reach unto the clouds, yet he shall perish forever, like his own dung. They which have seen him shall say, where is he? He shall fly away as a dream, and shall not be found. Yet he shall be chased away as a vision in the night, man. You see that? So the so-called white man, we're going to say, where is he, man? What the hell happened to you, man? Right? You see that? Like, what happened to this guy, man? Right? You were the top nation. Right? You had, dominion over everybody, man. But now where are you, man? Because the hypocrite, the triumphing of the wicked is short, man. This little 500-year reign or whatever the case may be is nothing compared to forever and ever, man. And they're going to lose this kingdom, right? It's going to be glorious for the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, man. All right? It's the book of Daniel, man. And this should excite you when you're reading about the destruction of your enemies, man. Right? It's the book of Daniel, right, chapter 7, verse 18, it says, and the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever and ever. Amen. Right, so we're going to take the kingdom, man. Right, the Most High is going to give us the power. He's going to destroy our enemies for us and give us the kingdom. What's better than that, man? Right? It's going to be glorious, man. Right? Book of Sirach, right? Chapter 25 and verse 7. It says, there be 9 things that I have judged in mine heart to be happy. The 10th I will utter with my tongue. A man that hath joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemies, man. So you should be praying to the Most High, right, that he have mercy unto you, let you endure to the end, right, just so you can see the destruction of your enemies, man. Right, he said a man that has the joy of his children, and right after that glory, the next best thing is seeing the fall of your enemies, man. Right, that's a glorious thing, the Lord said, man. And this is what the Lord is talking about. And we go see the war in heaven, Lord willing, right? And we go see them get obliterated, man, because they're going to try to attack us in the wilderness, man, right? The Russians and all the other nations, right, after America's been destroyed, they're going to try to attack us, and all hell go break loose, man. And we go laugh, clap it up. We go love seeing the destruction of our enemies, man. Right? We're going to love that thing. And you should love it, man. Right? Because when you getting destroyed, man, they love it. They cheering it on, man. Right, so we don't give a damn, man. All right, this book of Revelation, right, chapter 12, verse 10. It says, I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength, the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accuseth them before our God day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. And they love not their lives unto the death, man. So we don't love our lives in this thing, man. We go die for the Yahweh. Right, that's what we in this thing for, man. That's why we boost down on the highways and byways, ready to take whatever come our way, man. Right, you gonna try to kind of holding the gun, walking up on us, flashing guns at us. Hey, kill us, man. Right, do it, man. Right, so we can die that glorious death and receive a crown of life, man. Right, we don't give a damn about our life in this thing, man. Right, we living for Yahweh Shah, man. Our life means nothing, man. What is my life? Right? You get this preset. If I can find this preset real quick. Right? Bear with me. Right? This is the book of Philippians chapter 1, verse 21. It says, for to me, to live is Hamashiach, and to die is gain. Right? He's saying, hey, man, dying is gain. That's what Paul is saying. He says, but if I live in the flesh, this is the fruit of my labor. Yet, what shall I choose? I what not? For I am in the strait betwixt two, having desire to depart and to be with Hamashiach Yahushai, which is far better. He's saying, look, man, I'm torn between living and dying. Because if I die and depart, I'm with Yahweh Shah, man. I'm at rest, man. Right, let me get the precept on that. Right? Book of Sirach, right? Chapter 30, I believe that's 37. It's like it. Sirach, chapter 30. It's like it. I know what I'm going off. All right, Sirach, chapter 22. And kind of verse 11, it says, weep for the dead, for he hath lost the light, and weep for the fool, for he wanted understanding. Make little weeping for the dead, for he is at rest, but the life of a fool is worse than death. Right, so a man that's dead, he's actually at rest, man. You're sleeping the sleep of death. You're actually at rest in this thing, man. Or you're with Yahweh Shah. So Paul is saying, look, man, it's far better to just die anyway. So that's why you're so ready to. What is our life, man? What do we got to live? We in captivity, man. Or you got to wake up, go to work, man. Your back hurt, your feet hurt. You're in this fleshly body. You going off, right? Thinking wicked thoughts, having wicked dreams, man. Right? You go in the store, getting some gas, and you see a damn railroad, and you just think about folly. You know, like that's off, man. We tired of this, man. Right? We're tired of this, man. Right? Reading on, right, verse 24, Philippians 1:24, it says, nevertheless, to abide in the flesh is nor needful for you. And having this confidence, I know that I shall abide and continue with you all, for your fervorance and joy of faith, that your rejoicing may be abundant in Hamashiach Yahushua for me by my coming to you again. Right? So he's saying, look, man, but me dying isn't really profitable to you. So I got to live, do my thing in this flesh, man. But nonetheless, we're willing to die for this thing, man. Right? Because we're living for Christ anyway. We already killed the old man. Right? Get that in Galatians. Right? This is the book of Galatians. Chapter 2 and verse 20. It says, I am crucified with Hamashiach. Nevertheless, I live. Yet not I, but Christ liveth in me. Right? So I am crucified. The old man is crucified. Although he may try to resurrect, you got to kind of kick him back in the damn grave, man. Right? But he tries to resurrect. But nonetheless, he's crucified. That old man is dead. He's nailed to the cross with Hamashiach. But I'm still actually physically here. But it's not me. It's Hamashiach living in me. Right? This is what Paul is saying. Right? This is going into killing that old man, living a new life, being born again. Right? But you're born through the flesh. Through the spirit. Right? Through that water, living water. Right? And it says, and the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by the faith of the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. You see that? So the life that we're living now is all for the Lord, man. So we give our life for the Lord, because guess what? He gave his life for us, man. Right? Let's get that. Right? Mashiach Yahushua gave his life for us, man. Right? It's the book of Philippians, chapter 2, right? In verse 25, it says, husband, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it. So he gave himself for the church. He literally died, man, for us, for our iniquity, man. Right? So why wouldn't we want to die for this man, man? Right? Get that, man. Right? The book of Isaiah. All right? Chapter 53, verse 7. Right? It says, he was oppressed, he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep for her shears is dumb. So he opened not his mouth. He was taken from prison and from judgment. Who shall declare his generation? And he was cut off out of the land of the living. For the transgression of my people he stricken. It's like for the transgression of my people was he stricken, man. So for the transgression of Israel, Yahushua was stricken, man. Like he was beat down, spat on, crowned of thorns on his head, mocked, man. Right, chased out of cities, man. Threatened to be stoned, man. Hated by his own people, man, that he grew up with. All that for us, man. So, hey, the hell with my life, man. We willing to die for Yahushua, man. Right, let me get this, man. The book of 1 Peter. All right, get that in the book of 1 Peter, right? The 3rd chapter. Right, this is 1 Peter chapter 3, right, in verse 13. It says, and who is he that will harm you if ye be followers of that which is good? But, and if ye suffer for righteousness' sake, happy are ye, and be not afraid of their terror, neither be troubled. Huh? You see that? So we got to be happy to die for Yahweh Bachim Yahushua, because we not accounting our life to mean a damn thing, man. Right? Because if our life don't mean nothing to us, we're going to gain Hamashiach Yahushua. We're going to live in him, and we're going to have glorious dominion. Right? We're going to be heirs with Christ, man. Right? And Christ got some glorious things coming. All nations, all knees are going to bow before him, man. Right? And we want that same dominion. Right? It's the book of Revelation. Right? Chapter 12 and verse 10 again. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength in the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. Right? Now is come that salvation and strength once we take the so-called white man out, man. Right? Or once the Most High takes the white man out for his. Right? It says, for the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb. We overcame the so-called white man, the wiles of the devil, by the blood of the Lamb. We overcame that because he purchased us back with his blood, brought the whole nation back together. And by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto death, man. Right? So we're willing to die for this thing, right? It says, therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell therein. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is coming to you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. So the so-called white man, he know he doesn't have long, man, because the triumph of the wicked is short, like we read, man. Right? They understand they don't have long, so they just they got that YOLO spirit, man. They don't have long to reign, so they just doing their thing. Right? This Book of Wisdom of Solomon, right? Chapter 12, verse 6. It says, come on, therefore, let us enjoy the good things that are present, and let us speedily use the creatures like as in youth. Let us fill our bodies with costly wine and ointments, and let no flower of the spring pass by us. Let us crown ourselves with rose petals, and they before they be withered. Let none of us go without his part of our voluptuousness. Let us leave tokens of our joyfulness in every place. Right? And that's why they leave all these different monuments, man. Right? That's joyfulness to them, putting up a monument showing the so-called pilgrims that came and raped, robbed, and murdered, man. Right? They got that in Jamestown, Virginia. Right? You got the damn slave boat, whatever the hell boat out there on the Baltimore Harbor. All hell breaking loose, man. Right? So they leave all these different monuments because they proud of it, man. Right? Say, no, it's just history. You proud of it, man. Right? And that's why you go into slavery, man. Right? It says, for this is our portion and our lot is this. Let us oppress the poor righteous man. Let us not spare the widow, nor reverence the ancient gray hairs of the aged. Right? So that's why they don't give a damn, man. Right? They just living it up. Great wrath is coming upon the earth. They don't care about the old, the widow, the fatherless. They don't care about the nature. They just doing whatever the hell because, look, man, we go live it up while we can. And that's smart, devil. Because, I mean, hey, live it up, man. Right? Live it up. Enjoy your kingdom. Because when our kingdom come, it's over for you, man. Forever, right? Revelation 12 and 13, it says, when the dragon saw that he was cast into the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child, right? And, of course, we're going to get persecuted. It's going to be Jacob's trouble, right? There's going to be Jacob's trouble, right? Let me get a quick precept on that. Might be getting ready to close out. That's a quick precept on that, right? Right, bear with me. The book of 2nd Esdras, right? Chapter 16 and verse 70. And it reads, for there shall be in every place in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. They shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. You see that? So it's going to be a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord, man. Right? It's going to be a damn decree sent out by the so-called white man to, you know, all hell break loose, man. So we got to get prepared for those days, right? Read a quick precept. See, this is what I want. All right, bear with me. It's like, all right. Right, it's the book of Psalms chapter 37, verse 14. It says, the wicked have drawn out the sword and have bent their bow to cast down the poor and needy and to slay such a be of upright conversation. You see that? So they're going to actually come out to try to slay righteous men on the earth. All right, let's go back to 2nd Esdras, right? One more precept on that. It's like not 2nd Esdras. Let's go back to Wisdom of Solomon. Right, Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2, right? And I'm going to just start, get the point. I'm going to start at verse 17. It says, let us see, right? This is still the so-called white man, right? This whole chapter is going into the ungodly, their thought process, right? It says, let us see if his words be true. let us prove what shall happen in the end of him. Right? Because we're professing to be the children of the Most High. Right? We're saying if you put us to death for the Lord, we're going to get a crown of life. So they're like, let's see if it's true. Right? Let's test it out. Because that's how these devils are, man. It says, for if the just man be the son of God, he will help him and deliver him from the hand of his enemies. The same thing they were saying to Hamashiach Yahweh, right? We're not greater than our master. We got to suffer the same way he suffered in this thing, right? It says, let us examine him with despitefulness and torture, that we may know his meekness and prove his patience. Let us condemn him with the shameful death, for by his own saying he shall be respected, man. Let us condemn him with a shameful death. Let's behead him in the FEMA camp. Let's kill his whole family and see if he'll turn on the Lord, and then just kill him afterwards, man. Right, let's cut his tongue out, cut off his fingers, man. Let him bleed out. Whatever the hell these devils go do, man. Right? They go put us to death with a shameful death, right? Shameful in their eyes, but it's glorious in the eyes of us, because we counted our lives nothing, and now we can live with the Lamb. Right, because it's better to die because you get that gain to go with Hamashiach anyway. And then you got first row seats on the chariot. Right, that's 1 Thessalonians, the 4th chapter. All right. So reading on, Revelation 12 and 14 says, and to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the face of the serpent. Right, and again, it's going into us coming to America, right? At times, that's 1260, that's 3.5 days, the half week right there, right? And it says, and the serpent cast out of his mouth waters as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood, right? And that's talking about these philosophies, that doctrine, right? It's going to cast out that flood, man, right? And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened up her mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth. Right? Because the earth, all these, they digging up things and all these different discoveries that they find, it actually helps the woman. It actually helps Israel. Right? It helps us come more to the knowledge of the truth when they're proving the Bible. Right? You read the Zondervan, you see him. It's like, not the Negro, so we not African. Right, and you kind of going through different history books and different things from Edomites, and they telling you how the so-called Native Americans and Hispanics, they were speaking Hebrew, and they pulling up the tablets, and you got the Chief Joseph Stone, he's speaking in Assyrian languages, cuneiform, and you're like, wait, the Northern Kingdom, they came from Assyria, right, and they went to Asa River, and you reading about Christopher Columbus came. Now you're putting all the pieces together. You seeing maps, and it's like, dang, that's a Kingdom of Judah or slave coast. Oh, so they knew the African soldiers. It's all linking up with the Bible. That's how the earth is helping the woman, and it's swallowing up that flood. You're not getting drowned in that flood, man, because the earth is helping you, right? Swallowing up that water, preventing you from getting flooded with the false doctrine, with the false philosophies, man, right? Because we're coming with that flood of that righteous knowledge, man, right? We're trying to have you dive into this living water, but they're trying to flood you with these lies and false doctrine. All right, and it says, and the dragon was wroth with her and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony from Mashiach Yahushua, which we just read. Right, they're going to make war with the remnant of the seed of the woman, man. They're going to make war with the Israelites. That's talking about Jacob's trouble, right? That's that 5th seal, man. You got to get ready for it. Praying fast, Israel. Lord willing, that was edifying. Kwam Yasha Allah. Death to America, man. Death to Esau. Death to all the other nations, man. Peace and prosperity to the 12 tribes. I love y'all. Shalom.